Frank Playforth, 6th 11th 1926.
What's special about today, Frank?
I'm 96.
Happy birthday, Frank.
Yeah.
Frank, would you like to tell us about your life?
Well, I was born in Gamelli, or born in a place that you probably never heard of, Burrabadgie. Birth was registered in Gamelli. I went to school in Darren, right through, and when I finished work, I worked at a couple of grocery shops. Had about 18 months in the Air Force. Come back a little bit on at a grocery shop for a little while, then joined the railways. Came here in 1947. Railways, they sent me here. That's out of the selection panel. There was quite a few of us, something like I think about 23 of us. Some went to Albany, some went to Jordan, some in Perth, Northern, most of the big depots. I finished up here. Never heard of the place until I came here. The boarding house, there was Harry Ely he ran a cafe for the picture theatre, and he had a boarding house. I lived in a room behind there. Then after a while I went to another one, Brindlecombs, which they had in the main street, where there was a garage near, pretty close to it. Then I lived in Hobbs Road for quite a while with Ron and Nell Douglas. And then Nell wasn't starting to feel too well, and I shifted in with me what I didn't realise at the time would be my future in-laws, because I married Pat Smith, the youngest daughter of Dick and Kath Smith, and actually at the time I didn't know much of them, and then it turned out that Joan Crooks and my wife were cousins. So I finished up I started the railways as a cleaner, shoveling, and went cleaning for a while till one morning actually. The acting foreman come along and said, "You could take 2 hours not required and come back at 4 o'clock. I've got to put you through for your fireman's ticket." So that's when I became a fireman, and I couldn't tell you the date from memory. And so then after that I became a fireman. The first trip was an interesting one as a fireman. It was to Condinant, leaving at 7 o'clock at night in the middle of winter, pitch black. And I said to the chappie, who was the driver, "I've never been here, first trip firing, what's it?" He said, "Well, you go up here, you go down here, you go up there and down, up and down." He said, "That's all the way." And so we finished, eventually got there after about 12 hours, I think. Come back again that night, about the same length of time. Only thing it did, we made a good rise in the pay packet. And then the next trip was to assist an engine on the Kalgoorlie Express, which we stabled at Yellowdine, and got into bed and been inexperienced sort of thing, and Yellowdine being one of the cold places. I already had a singlet and jocks on. I got into bed and I come straight out because sheets were that bloody cold. Then started periodically trips going around. I finished up on the roster for there after a while. I was appointed driver in 7 years, one of the quickest ones, I believe, appointed. I was appointed in 54. When I first came here, we were walking down the Bates Street to a football club meeting. One of the blokes said, "You'll be playing full back this year." I said, "Thanks very much." I had played full back in Darren when I was there, but what made it worse for me to know where I was going to play, was the coach of railways here, was the coach, my coach in Darren. And I enjoyed it. I made the carnival side a couple of 3 times to Northern before it was like it is now. And went all right there. I suppose it was a bit wintry time and wet. And I played tennis. In fact, at the Merredin hard course, which was across the gateway from where the men's shed is now, I played there. And we used to work all that Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, getting the courts ready for the afternoon, and have to do the same thing again next week. And I done it when that we sort of went defunct there, and I shifted up to railways on that railway ground till I done a shoulder in, and I went and played bowls. I've been played bowls from about 1956 to right through until a couple of years ago. Nearly 45 years. 44 years and 10 months. I started in the January 47 and I retired in November 1991. They wrote and told me that you have returned, you will turn 65 on the 6th of November, you will retire. And they did write and asked a few blokes that had retired to come back, but I never got asked. I wouldn't have gone back anyway. Oh, well, some of the things we used to get up to. I remember going to, I presume you've heard of him, Big Fat Jones. It's Kenny Jones and Lenny Jones, it's his father, Spike. Yeah, we were going to dinner one day. He reckoned he didn't think I'd fire for him, but anyway, because we'd had a bit of an argument. Anyway, we were stopped between Tanajan and Canadjan, and the guard come up, said, "What's wrong?" And the guard, Fat said, "Duck your effing head." He said, "We're declared war. We were shooting roos." Yeah. One of the funniest, and another one we go there. I got Kevin Jones, who's now as a fireman. I'm the driver. I didn't have a driver's ticket. Big Len was back in the van listening to my radio. I enjoyed the life. You were fit, especially on the steam days. I wasn't too keen when we went to diesels because I'm not mechanically minded, and they were too technical for me. And I hated the Prospector. Too technical, or really technical, that one. And all the motors were underneath, and you go into Kalgoorlie, one of the motors were dead, you had to call in under the platform to shut it down. About the last 20 years, I suppose, of the railway career. I was on the top roster. But to get back to sport, I played football for about 10 years. Then went goal umpiring for a while. Then, as I said, I started to play bowls out with railways. I'd done a shoulder and played bowls ever since. When first wife died, I shifted down to the club. And I played with Jimmy Wanders for quite a while, and a few others. Had quite a good association there. When I first started, there was a sheet like that, probably a bit bigger, which was the roster, and the train crews was 42 train crews there. That was a driver and a fireman on the roster. Then you had the shed staff of 6 shed staffs, 3 drivers, 3 firemen, day, afternoon, night shift, and a heap of cleaners right down the bottom, with the big plus traffic, which was a salaried staff. it was quite a big railway town, and also, we used to get paid one week, and so would staff get paid the next week. What in the working conditions, or that side of Mary Street is where the railways, where the steam sheds were. The coal stage was about where the Mary Street crossing is, near where the tyre firm is. Mac Yeoman had just across from the coal stage, had a garage there. And if you have a look in the, or as you photographed me at the museum or video, that's the railway yard when I first came here, or the part of it. Then they built the yard down the other way, which used to go to where the pig sales were. Part of it afterwards, and that's where if we were going to Northern on anything. That's where we left from. It was a good life. It was a fit life on the steam days. Well, after a while, we lost all the narrow gauge trains. We lost the roadside, all the roads. They put that on a motor track with one lot. I sent a parcel to my son in South Australia, and he said, "I haven't got it. I don't know where it is, Dad." So I rang up. Eventually, I got in touch with this. I forget their name, and I couldn't get any sense out of them. I'll leave your phone number, or that we'll get back to you. And they're still waiting. After that, I've been retired 31 years. Eventually got one of the blokes out of the district traffic superintendent's office to find out. He left me a note and said it's on the goods shed floor in Adelaide railway station. And that set of bowls my son has still got. They were his grandfather's, and you don't get them now. They were barnet glass made. One's in Wagen, that's the youngest one, and one's in Thornley. No, one's in Como, but don't ask me how to find the place because I've only been there a couple of times. And my brother passed away about 6 weeks ago, 94. He'd had a few falls. He was in a nursing home. He was getting absent-minded, burning things, overcooking things. I finally burned the house down. Well, that's the name for when you first enlisted. You were like anything else. You were doing anything. You were a rookie. A new chum at it. Well, it was just about finished when I was doing my rookies. If I was in there 18 months, I'd be lucky. Only good thing when I went to Melbourne, I enjoyed it, was that I could walk out the back gate of the Ascot showgrounds in Melbourne on the Flemington Racecourse, and it was quite good. That was a lot of improvement on it now, remembering it's 31 to 40, 70 years ago. That was the trips to Nuss and Nullarbor. They were interesting. No, this was the idea. When I got to the airport was shifting. You used to travel the coach and DOS anywhere, and there was no compartments. There was a compartment. You wanted to be sleeping on the floor, on the seats, and in the passageway. No, that was all gone when I came here. It reminds me, there was another one, I believe, up the hill out of Merredin going towards Colgar. There's one up there too, I believe. Well, the railways, for one thing, shifting from where they are. We see where the railway yard used to be. It was all alongside the old platform. The goods office was just near where the information centre is, or a bit further over than that, just about on the road. Goods shed was in the gateway there. Ways and Works which was a carpenter doing the gang, and that used to be on the end of the platform on this Great Eastern Highway now, what was Bates Street. I couldn't tell you the name of that street. And the overhead bridge coming down. Well, all I know is it got you over the railway line because there was about seven lines there with trains moving. But going to Condon or Yellowdine, and then at the opposite end there used to be the Wildcatcham, Northern, Bruce Rock, which used to have, then you get a junction at Bruce Rock, and you'd go to Corrigan on one piece, and then turn up and go to York on the other one. We used to book up at a place called Panderman. That was on the top of a hill, summertime, 110 in the water bag, and you'd be looking for blankets about 10:30. The Albany doctor come in. And I used to go out there, I used to trap, pardon me, rabbit shooting, or go out with a couple of the wheat carters, go for rides, because we used to be there from 10 o'clock in the morning, or 10:30 in the morning, till 3:45 next afternoon. Make what used to be called a barrack stew. I think it'd get thrown in the pot, and that would make that when we got there on the Tuesday, and have half of it on the Tuesday and the rest on the Wednesday before we came back. The same on Thursday and Friday. Everything you could think to throw in the veggies and meat. No, I never used to get any rabbits. I did get some rabbits. Occasionally we'd have one, not very often. I used to bring them home, but we lost a lot on one occasion. It was stinking hot, and they all went off on us. Well, general merchandise. All depends. Going to Condon on the Monday, when you come back Tuesday, the old engine only have 240 tonne, and you'd be loaded up you'd have stock. You'd be starting at possibly Notting through to Colgate, picking up a truck of stock here, a truck of stock there at one place. The same on most of them on Tuesdays. If we're coming into here, you bring stock at coming here to go out that evening to Midland with sales. Went to Panderman, going the other way, used to go through to York, Wildcatcham, you go through to Northern, you'd finish up with a trainload of stock there on a Tuesday mainly. The rest of the week would be wheat or general merchandise. A lot of people don't know they mined gypsum at a Laban at one stage. Same as at Yellowdine. I've been out there. The wall of gypsum would be higher than this ceiling. Then when the iron ore started cooling, they carted that in by road and dumped it at Southern Cross, and we used to get it there at one stage in just single wagon instead of big train loads. Well, it was a good job. The pay was good, and plus the fact that I was a married man, couldn't be afford shifting. Well, I've been married twice actually. My first wife died when she was 42 from a heart attack. Then I married Shirley. She'd already been married and lost her husband. She never played bowls. I enjoyed life with her, was good. She never played bowls till we got married, then took to it like a duck takes to water. In fact, I haven't got them now, but we won 4 years out of 5 at a mixed pairs championship. She'd been all around there, Bunbury, Kalgoorlie, Perth, playing bowls. I only had the one trip. Till she finished up getting cancer, or second time, and broke her hip. That's finished her bowls career. She was going to play bowls and she slipped off the end of the bed. And just saying down. No, I went in, I couldn't find her because she got down between the bed and the chest of drawers. And she said, I think I broke something. And then she got a second lot of cancer in the tongue. And she couldn't drink or have anything orally then for the next 5 years. All fed there. I don't know, being a larrikin. Well, I don't know. I've got no secrets on it. Oh, but I had to say that I know what a larrikin is, but I just said a bit of a larrikin. Some of the things we used to do, I used to drink a lot of beer. I didn't drink when I first came here. When I started, we used to drink a lot of beer, have some pretty hectic nights. I don't know how you'd explain it. Yes, I used to fire for an old bloke back when I was Harry Bromfield. We were on the shunter, and they'd just come and say, you've got to go up to the brewery. Old Harry, he couldn't get there quick enough, and he couldn't get off. He didn't go into the brewery. We get there because they had a sample room, and old Harry, he'd get there. He just dropped the brake on the engine and said, "It's all yours, son." That meant I had to put the brake on, make sure the boiler was full. The fire was banked up so it didn't go out. He wanted to get in to get the big pot that was in the sample room. And the flour mill only had time. What I had to do with that was when we had to shunt and push wheat up into there. It was a bit of a battle, especially in the winter time with the rail being wet, and you'd quite a few ton of wheat to go up there. And you had to. Sometimes you'd have to go up there and get the empties out, and then go back again and put the wheat up there. Not much difference to well, the same as Hannon's beer, because virtually Hannon's brewery and the Kalgoorlie and the Merredin brewery were owned by the one person, who also owned Cummings Theatre, Alice Cummings. I remember the brewery being pulled down, and I forget where a lot of it went to. The flour mill burnt down. I don't know whether I was home or not. Way somewhere when that caught alight. I know it burnt for quite a while with the dust and rubbish that was in there. From that, from the dust you get out of wheat. I had a derailment between Bruce Rock and Jura. That's on the Bruce Rock out the Corrigan line, and that a heap of wheat wagons come off. One of them was on the condemning stage and shouldn't have been on the line. And I had a derailment coming up out of Bedallen on the broad gauge. And there's one thing I don't talk about. It was a fatality. I was on the Prospector one Sunday night and hit this car up the Rifle Range crossing. And somebody told me afterwards that he was stopped. He wasn't stopped. So I watched him come and get in there. Go drive over the crossing while I'm still coming up at him at 125 k's an hour, and picking up speed. That's all I ever say about it. No. Well, I don't know, and you don't know, because that's the life you've lived. I suppose it's ours, and there's Charlie Pride song, "Mama, don't cry for me, I've lived the life you gave me." Well, I was at a boarding house, I didn't have to go there, And as I say, I didn't go into the hotels much for the first couple of years I was here. I think I would have been about 22, I think, when I had my first drink. I was 21 when I was shoveling coal coming up out of Moorone Rock, I know that much. But, well, you used to have a couple of grocery shops here then. You had what was known as Gribbles, which is still there. But where my first wife worked was where somewhere around about where Two Dogs Go Mad and all that are, you know. That was Spargo's, and they had a grocery shop, a jewel shop, haberdashery or jewellery and furniture and stuff on one side and groceries on the other. One place that makes people was a commercial hotel. Alongside it was a pie shop, but the bloke that had the pie shop there, Wally Bowden, was also the undertaker. Which remembers the old Joe Delabosco had a fish and chip shop down there where the dentist is now, about where the flower shop is. To where the dentist is now was a hardware shop and real estate. We had at one stage 3 chemists there, couple of shoe shops, 2 groceries. In fact, the old Merredin, there was 50 odd rooms in that place. And it had there was a laneway through it. On this side was an arcade, which was a hairdressing saloon, a dry cleaners, a dentist, and a couple of accountants, and Drake was on one side in the arcade. That's where their shop was originally, not the where it went across the road. Big long bar, and I've been in both hotels. A big long bar. It was the saloon, the front bar, and then a dart place to play in. A small bar just behind it, a beer garden outside. Saloon bar was quite nice. Les Neal and Johnny Rowe had it when I came here, and they had it near enough to actually till it was demolished. I do not know. Same with the commercial. When I came here, a bloke by the name of Alec Cutler had it. A bloke by the name of George Tyre had it, but he'd just moved when I left. When I came here, he'd gone to Kalgoorlie. He had the tower in Kalgoorlie. Then Alec Cutler had it for a long time. Then George Parry had it for years. Then it changed hands quite a bit after that. Didn't have much to do with it. A little bit probably with when John Morrick was there. Other than that, I just went in there for the social side of it. One hotel, the railways used to congregate in the commercial. There was also the Railway Football Club hotel. Most of the railway footballers used to be there. And the town's football club was in the Merredin. Because we had two football clubs there one stage, two tennis clubs. There was an institute library, which it had the library in it, a billiard saloon, two billiard tables in there. The hall was separate. One of the best dance floors in the area. It got that way. They just got maintenance was getting too high, I think, and it is now where the doctor's surgery is. I couldn't dance. I went to the floor because my first wife was a very good dancer. And I could only do 1 or 2 dances. I wasn't particularly interested in dancing. But, you could walk around there after a dance and pick up quite a few empty bottles and quite a few bottles. We used to do that when I was a kid going to school at Darren. Young brother and I'd get up about 1 o'clock after the dance finished and go around, collect the empty bottles. They'd give us our pocket money, and he'd get quite a few ones that used to keep Dad